Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 of Week 27. My name is Mildred. In the last lesson, we looked at how to create stored procedure, and we created a stored procedure that do not take arguments in the procedure call. We want to go further in looking at how to create more complex stored procedures and how to supply arguments when these procedures are created with parameter definition. We had a stored procedure called get customers, and we said that to create a stored procedure, we use the create procedure statement in MySQL. But before we start, we want to look at the different modes that we have. We have something called the in mode when we create stored procedure with parameters, and when we have the in parameter, which is usually the default, the calling program must pass an argument to the stored procedure, and the value of that in parameter doesn't change, and when we make changes it applies to the copy of it. We have the out parameter or the out mode in which the parameter can be changed inside of the stored procedure, and the new value now is passed back to the calling program. Then we have the in out, which is the combination of in and out, and what it is that the calling program may pass the argument and the stored procedure can modify the parameter and pass a new value back to the calling program. So it won't make sense now until we get an example done. Let's look at the address table, for instance. Let's say select all from address. In this address table, we have address, and the address has district. Let's say we want to create a stored procedure where we always select from the address where the district name is a particular name that will be supplied by the calling program. So how do we do this? We first change the delimiter, and I can use all uppercase, which is best, and I want it to be, let's say, // like this. Once I change that delimiter, I want to now create the stored procedure. So create procedure, and I want to give it a name. Let's say the name is get address by district, and in the parentheses I want to define the parameters. I want to use the in mode, and what I want this to be is the district name, which is the argument that I want the calling program to supply, and I want to define a length for this. So varchar, let's say 150. So I've done this. I have created a stored procedure called get address by district, and then I have added a parameter. I use the in mode. So when it is called, an argument must be supplied, which should be a district name. So let's begin, and then what I want to do is to say select all from address, and I'll say where district, which is the column name, is equal to district name, which is the parameter. So the name must match like this. So because I define the parameter as district name, I want this to be district name like this. Once this is done, I will end, and then I'll redefine the delimiter back to what it's supposed to be, which is semicolon. I'm done. So we create a stored procedure called get address by district, and we want to supply an argument called district name. So let's say we call this like call get address by district like this, and in the parentheses let's look for the district. So let's say we have California. So let's say I want to say California. So this should give me all of the address in the address book where the district is California. So every time I call the stored procedure, I must supply the argument. And so when I run this, so I'm going to comment this out because I don't want it created a second time, and I'm going to try to run this. So in the future, try to create your procedure first before you try to test it by calling. So now we call all of the address where the district is California. We can change this to put another district. I think I saw one called Central Luzon. I hope that's what I saw. And when I run this now, I'm going to have all of the address where the district is Central Luzon. So this is one way of using the stored procedure with an argument. Let's use a different one. Let's say select all from rental. We don't have a rentals table, it's just rental. And then we have this rental table that has rental ID, rental date, inventory ID, customer ID. Okay, let's say we want to illustrate the out right now, and I want to select everything from the rental table based on the customer ID, and during the select statement I want to calculate the number of rentals that a particular customer has done. So let's try that. Now we have a rental table. We want to try doing this. As always, you want to define a new delimiter, and I would say the $. I want to create procedure, and my procedure name is going to be, let's say, customer, I'll make this lowercase, customer rental like this. In the parentheses, I'm going to define in is going to be customer, which will be the customer ID. So I will make it an integer. I want to do out, which is going to be the total rental, which is also going to be an integer. So this is how we use the out. The out is something we are calculating on the fly, and it's going to differ from customers. So this is not something that is fixed like the customer, which is what is fixed in the database, and we can't change it, but we can change a copy of it. Now we have these parameters, so which means we are going to supply 2 arguments during the customer rental call. So let's begin. I want to select, and I'll use the count. Let's say count rental ID. So this is just illustrating what we can use stored procedure for. So now we can see some of the advantage and the things we want to do. Like if you have a large database and you're going to frequently access customers by district, or you're going to frequently access the number of orders or purchases a particular customer made, this is one of the uses of having a stored procedure stored on the server. So what you do is to make a call to the stored procedure and that amount, so you don't bother running queries anymore. So this is one of the advantage that we can see with using stored procedures. So we say select count rental ID. I want to select it. I want to store it into total rental. And where are we selecting this from? The rental table. And we want to say where the customer ID is equal to the customer that the user will supply in the argument, like this. So let me break this so you can see. So we have it. Select the total rentals and store it in the total rental column, or what is going to be supplied in the argument. We're selecting this from the rental table where a customer ID is equal to the customer here, which means the argument passed by the user. We have several customer IDs here. We can try 459, we can try 130 later on. So once this is done, we end the delimiter, and then we change the delimiter back to what it's supposed to be. So we have this defined. We created a delimiter, we created stored procedure customer rental, we defined the 2 parameters it will take, customer and total rental. Total rental is out, which means that it's going to be created on the fly. The value is going to change based on what is supplied as the customer ID. Both values of the arguments are integers, and then we want to just look at the total rental ID and store it into total rental from the rental table where customer ID is customer values. Now let's run this to see that it works. Then we'll try to call it. One thing I will show you here is when you have an out parameter like this, we can actually declare the default value by using a declare statement like this. Let's say declare total rental, and it's going to be int, and we'll have a default value of 0, like that. When you want to always recreate this all the time, and let's say you want to delete if it already exists, what do? You use a drop at the very beginning. So we use a drop statement. So this helps you see how to delete a stored procedure. So you say drop procedure, and then we'll put if exists, and then the procedure name, which is customer rental. So you don't need to put this at the beginning, but as we're testing, we always want to recreate in case we change the code or the create procedure code. We want to drop and recreate it, but this is not what you will use in your program. I am just trying to show you how to delete a stored procedure. So because we are going to be using this frequently, and I want to always recreate it in case we change the definition of the stored procedure, we want it to take effect. So I want to delete the old one and put in the new one like this. So the drop statement is not necessary. It only shows you how to delete the procedure. So let's run this. If all is well, it's created. We run this. We have a stored procedure called customer rental. So I'm going to comment this out, and let's see how do we use it. Now this is a little tricky. We use call, and then we're calling customer rental, and now we have the 2 arguments. The first one is the customer ID. Let's say we have a 33. For the second one, we have to pass like a session value, which is at, and the at is what? The name is total rental, like that. And then what we want to do, we want to select, we use a select statement, select at total rental for us to see the total rental of that customer. So calling this is a little tricky. When I run this, we have it. Total doesn't exist for this. Let's use 150. The total still doesn't exist, so it's giving us null. So let's see why. Okay, this might actually have to do with the declare total rental and the default is 0 that I used there. So let's rerun this and see. I'm going to uncomment this, and then we're going to drop, and then we're going to recreate that, and then we're going to call that. So I'll run. We have the drop. I'll remove the declaration, we run again, and then we have that total 25. So the declare statement there is just an example to show you how you can set the default value, but you see it affected us being able to call what the total is for the customer. Once I select our total rental, we get that. Okay, so this is how we use that. If I say number customer with ID 33 and I run again, we have a total rental of 21. If I say customer with ID 500 and I run, we have a total of 28. So this works as expected. It calculates the total number of rentals recorded for a particular customer, and see that we always drop and recreate, which is not supposed to be what we do. So I comment this out, and without that we can always run to get the total. And so if I say I want this to be 133, run, we have 27 rentals. So this is how we create stored procedure and have parameters and call the stored procedure, supplying the parameters, and for us to be able to see. If we want to list all the stored procedure that we have, we can say something like show procedure status like this, and then there are queries you can use to run some queries to be able to show procedures that belong to a particular database. But this will show you the database name, and then the name of the stored procedure, the type, the language, who defined it, okay, the date modified, created, and all of that. So this is where we end this lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to look deeper at advanced SQL. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.